Hi guys, my name's Azar. I'm MD of Rebel Recruiters. I'm going to be delivering a very quick talk on culture, performance, and togetherness. This is all about managers that are finding themselves working from home for the first time, or managing teams that are working from home for the first time. Now, I delivered this talk at D2N2 as a webinar earlier this week. It took me about half an hour. I know that's very, very long, so I'm going to try and hit this up in 10 minutes flat and hopefully give you some really, really good advice and tips to get you and your team functioning and supercharged. So let's jump straight into it. The three things I'm going to be talking about really are culture, leadership, and productivity. So let's start with what we're losing. So yes, we've lost a lot. Okay, we are now working from home through no choice of our own, and I'm just going to get this as a bit of a moan, get it out of the way before you focus on more positive and interesting stuff. So what have we lost? Well, obviously we lost a lot of face-to-face contact, a lot of the spontaneous interactions that we have with the team. If we are the sort of people that depend on external cues to determine our day, well, clearly we've lost a bit of structure and a bit of atmosphere as well. You know, we, as you can see in that picture, we created a really attractive office. We had a pool table. It was a really buzzing office, open plan, and now we're stuck at home. Okay, so yes, we have lost a lot of things. We've lost meetings, but I, for one, am not shedding a tear because a lot of meetings are a waste of time. You know that already. I know that. So, yeah, there's a positive in there somewhere. And the word that I hate, I haven't found a suitable alternative for, and that's banter. Obviously, when you're in the office, there's a lot of camaraderie. Well, there you go, camaraderie. Why didn't I just write that? Okay, so we're losing a lot of camaraderie. But there's lots of businesses that make remote teams work, and you can be one of them. So the world doesn't need to come to an end just because you're not in your super awesome office anymore. Let's look at what we've gained. So there's lots of things that we've gained, things like flexibility, there's health benefits to working from home, there's energy because we're not wasting it traveling to and from work or fighting with Sheila for that last car parking space. We can collaborate better now because we're less dependent on sharing a room, and actually we can share things using online tools which allow people to collaborate in their own time. And you can have a lot better one-to-one contact because you can focus completely when you're on a video call with someone, whereas when you're having a one-to-one in an office, there's lots of distraction, there's noise, you both feel under pressure to get back to your desk straight away. And the biggest thing of all is you're gaining time, the most precious commodity. No one can say working from home leads you to having less time. So there's tons of positives from working from home, and you can make it work and make it work for your team if you really want to, but you're going to need to make some changes. So let's jump straight into it. The first thing that you need to do to foster a really positive working from home culture is focus on your communication strategy. Now, I think because you're out the office, you need to aim to over communicate. Okay, you might be like me where you've got a family, you've got 3 beautiful children, you've got a wife, and if you don't see your colleagues during the day, it's not the end of the world. But some people, work is their main way of interacting with other human beings. So as a leader, you need to be aware of that, and you need to over communicate, at least at the very start, to make sure that you don't leave anyone behind and no one's potentially going to be having mental health issues because they've lost all forms of human contact, or the main form, which is their work colleagues. Now, obviously, there's lots of different mediums that I've listed there. I think the most important thing is that you choose your mediums and you create rules. We had a problem at Rebel when we first started. Everyone started working from home, in that some people were using email, others were using Zoom, others were using WhatsApp, and it became a bit of a mess. So we really streamlined it, and it works really well for us. So WhatsApp, all of our informal stuff, all of our company-wide kind of messages, because we've got a few people on furlough, so they're not checking emails or Microsoft Teams. So we'll just stick it on WhatsApp. Everyone gets it. But if you miss a message on WhatsApp, it's not the end of the world, because we stick our really, really important work-related stuff on Microsoft Teams. So if we know it's on Teams, we know it's important, we don't have to dig around through messages from our grandma or through our WhatsApps from our friends, or memes that have been sent from, God knows where, which you get with WhatsApp. If it's on Teams, it's about work, it's super important, you check it. And then we use Zoom for our group video calls because it's great. It resizes all the tiles equally. So if you've got 10 people, you've got 10 faces in front of you. Microsoft Teams isn't as intuitive, I find, because it only shows you the video for the last 4 people that have spoken. And what we do with Zoom is we have it's like a virtual common room. It's open all day and people just drop in and out as they choose. If they want a bit of contact with their colleagues, they just jump in that room. There's probably 2 or 3 people in the room at any one time, and it works really well. And then if we want to go and do a video call on a one-to-one basis, we use Microsoft Teams. So we jump out the common room, go into Microsoft Teams, have our one-to-one call, and then if we like, we can jump back into the group call. And those are the 3 main things that we use, and it works really, really well for us. Do set the rules, do remind each other, and try to move to asynchronous communications. And that, simply put, means when you send a message, don't expect a reply straight away. And I'll explain the reasons for that later. So we got the communication sorted. What do we do next? Well, we want to keep the magic alive. We want to keep the culture alive, so we need to get everyone on board. Tell them, be really explicit, and tell people that you're working hard to keep the culture alive and you're going to make some changes. Okay, if they know the reasons why you're making the changes, they're more likely to get on board, okay, and view it less with suspicion. Make face-to-face contact a priority. If you need to have a call, if you are hiding behind sending messages all the time, that's not good for you. It's not good for your team. Sprinkle in some video conferencing or some whether it's through WhatsApp or something like Microsoft Teams, some video calling on a one-to-one and a group basis. I'd always say golden rule: if you've got a conversation that could last more than a minute or 2, do a video call. Don't do a voice call, because you get to see how the person is. You get to see them. You get to see how they're feeling. They get to see your expressions. If you're like me and you get a voice call and you do a lot of this, and then you're multitasking maybe somewhere else, you're not fully focused. Very hard to do multitasking when you're on a video call, so make it a priority. Tweak your ceremonies if you need to. So if you've got a daily meeting at 9 o'clock, but some people have got kids at home now and they're probably just setting them up for their schoolwork at 9 o'clock, move your meeting to maybe like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We've done that. It's worked really, really well. We've got some night owls that wake up late. We've got some people that start work at 7 in the morning. At 9 o'clock, people are feeling very different. Some people are really struggling. We go to 2 o'clock, everyone's had a couple of hours work, everyone's got a couple of hours work in front of them. It's a really good slot for us to do our team catch-ups. So tweak your ceremonies and your team meetings accordingly. I talked about phone calls, I'd ban them. Virtual coffee breaks, happy hours. So if you're struggling to get a kind of vibe of a culture going, have some virtual coffee breaks, like 10 minutes a day. We're doing one for the next week, every day at 10 o'clock. We've got 10 minutes where people just come on, don't talk about work-related stuff. They could talk about the news. They could talk about, cake that they baked yesterday, whatever. There's no agenda. It's just a chance for us to speak. And you can sprinkle in some happy hours, as I said, where you can do things like quizzes or, other things that are non-work related that you and your team might be into. Obviously, don't go too crazy. I tried doing a sing-along. I think it was 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning with the team. Didn't really go down well. I was the only one bringing the enthusiasm. Probably went a little bit too far too soon. So yeah, don't go there. Okay, as a leader, what do you need to be aware of in these remote times? So first thing, if people are getting used to working from home for the first time, be super forgiving. Default to a culture of trust. Allow people to make mistakes. The golden test for me on this is that if you feel, if there's someone in your team and they've had a terrible week and you feel that they can tell you that, that's great. If you feel that they wouldn't tell you that, then you need to change up, because this lockdown carry on and you don't want someone drifting telling you that they're having a great week when they're not actually. Okay, so have a trusting culture. People should feel comfortable to say to you, look, I'm really struggling, I'm not being that productive at the moment, because it gives you a chance then to obviously address the problem. You need to build in accountability though. So rather than monitoring their time at work, focus on monitoring their outputs. A really easy way of doing that is at the start of each week or at the start of each day, just ask people what they're going to be focusing on, what targets they're going to be setting themselves, and then just review it at the end of the week. Get feedback. So obviously, you might need to change your targets. So, I don't know if you're in a sales team and your targets were to bang out 100 sales calls a day for this individual in your team. Clearly, it's not the time and place to be doing that right now. So change your metrics. Your metrics might be for him or her to catch up with existing accounts, or him or her to write some content and work on personal branding. So constantly look at what you're measuring people against and see if it needs changing. Don't hammer them with the same metrics you were using 6 weeks ago in the office. Don't stop your reviews. Just because you're not in the office doesn't mean that the review can't take place. In fact, it's probably more important now that your teammates your team members have a safe space once a month to talk with you about what's going on in their world. And don't always make it about productivity as well. Like, the first thing you want to know as a leader is how they're doing. How are they feeling right now? Okay. Stick to your reviews and make them more regular, if anything. Maybe even have a 5-minute catch up every Friday with each one of your team members. The most important thing, you are a leader. Whether you've chosen to be a leader or whether you've been put in that position, kind of tough luck. Like, you have to be the one bringing the energy, the one that is the energizing force for the team. They're going to take the cue from you. So if you're really seeing this as a inconvenience and something that you hate, and it's just not a great thing to be working from home, they're going to get sucked into that vortex of negativity. Tell them, embody the fact that this is an opportunity for us to actually be the most productive version of ourselves ever, and that you'll find that you drag them along for the ride. Okay, so talking about productivity, so how do you keep on top of work when working from home? First thing, see as a skill. Just how you can't be expected to pick up a violin and play Mozart, you can't be seen as an expert in working from home when you've only just started doing it. That goes for you and your team members as well. However, you can make the most of the fact that you have time now to focus on single tasks without having to switch context, which obviously happens a lot in offices. So choose your task, schedule your work, and then use the 90-30 rule. So 90-30 rule is really simple. It's based on the presumption that human beings can only work best in kind of 90 minutes to 2-hour sprints. The 90-30 rule basically says that you should give yourself 90 minutes to complete a task and then have a 30-minute break and then go again. And you're working in 90-minute sprints constantly, hammering these single tasks out the park, losing yourself in that task for 90 minutes and then moving on. And then you give yourself 30 minutes, like I said, just to recharge your batteries. By the way, working from home, it's not a new phenomenon. People have been working from home, and it was the de facto kind of standard, I suppose, for hundreds, if not thousands of years. The modern office was only born, I think it was in the 17th century, when people in the West kind of needed dedicated spaces. But actually, this is how most people have worked throughout history. So, get used to it. It's okay. You're having your family in the other room, doing your work, taking a break, having a chat with them, and giving your kids a hug. That's kind of life, all right? It's not being locked in an office. So this is probably a bit of a reality check for us. Something that you can use to make your life easier is a task management tool. I use not Microsoft To Do. I use Todoist. A really good book, if you want to get yourself super productive, is a book called Getting Things Right, which talks about how you can use task management tools or how you can create a system to automate what tasks that you need to work on. So you never have to wake up and wonder, what am I doing today? It's already there for you. And in general, use this time to be become more of a proactive individual who sets the agenda for your day rather than the office is setting the agenda for the day. I fell into that trap many times, and I'm using this time now to really focus on becoming super proactive and being the one that dictates what my day should look like. So, quick summary. Get your team communications right so everyone knows how and when they should communicate with each other. Choose video wherever possible. Keep that face-to-face contact going. Create routines and schedules for yourself and your team. This is where the asynchronous communication comes into it as well. As I mentioned before, tell people not to expect replies straight away, because you're working in 90-minute sprints, and during that 90 minutes, you're not going to answer WhatsApps, you're not going to check emails, you're not going to check Microsoft Teams. You're going to do that in your 30 minutes off. And you'll find that you'll be super productive. Be realistic and understanding with people that are starting work from home for the first time. It's going to take a bit of time for them to get used to it. Don't micromanage them. Don't beat them over the head with a stick. Give them a bit of space and be there as a support act to help them make the most of this time. Build that trusting culture, but get accountability and get people to tell you what they want to achieve and what they expect to achieve, and then just constantly review that. Finally, make the most of it. Yes, it's a terrible time, okay? And terrible things are happening, but there's never going to be another time in your lifetime or my generation, my lifetime, I think, where we get the chance to actually see whether having a remote team works for us. So make the most of it, whether it's 3 weeks or another 3 months, if we can nail this and then we go back to work, we have an added string to our bow, and we might choose not to go back to work in the office. We might choose to have this as part of our culture in the future. If you don't use this time to really test the extent at which this could work for you, you're going to miss a massive opportunity. So there you have it. If you've got any questions, you want to discuss anything further, you want to have a chat with me, you can email me, hit me up on LinkedIn or Twitter. Other than that, I wish you, your loved ones, your teams all the best. Hope you have a super productive time over the next few weeks. And I hope to catch up with some of you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.